All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, what I'm going to call today's podcast is I've always been fascinated by what you can transform your body into. So, if you know anything about me, I talk a lot about fitness, hygiene, all different things, sports related to a certain degree. I don't get into, actually, all I watch for the most part are a lot of things sports related, but I don't talk a lot about it on the podcast. But in this case, I'm going to be talking more about fitness, just in general, because I think at least people that listen to me or watch my YouTube videos know I'm really kind of into helping people work out. That's losing weight, gaining muscle, things in that nature. And one thing I talk about a lot of times is people don't want to admit that one of the reasons they're working out, or the main reason they're working out, is not just for health reasons. It's about looking good. But people don't want to say that. I'd say the one thing that keeps people working out is because the results they're getting and the attention they're receiving. Again, they don't want to admit it, but for the most part, it's pretty accurate, I believe. I've been working out, I've been going to the gym since I was like 5 years old, but I've been working out my entire life. And I've seen so many people's bodies transform into different things, good and bad, which is quite interesting. I've seen people, including myself, go from toothpicks to something much bigger. And I've talked about this in my previous podcast and YouTube videos about me being a runt and being extremely thin, even all the way up until graduating high school at around 135 pounds. And then about a year and a half later, maybe 2 years, I don't know how long, I was up to like 210, 220 pounds. I also grew like 4 inches. So my body definitely transformed into something. I don't know. Obviously, I hit puberty younger. I just don't know what happened. I think maybe I just worked out my entire life, but I think a lot of it had to do with I wasn't consuming enough food or getting enough nutrition or sleep. But I always lifted weights. But I think when I was younger lifting weights and playing sports, I was just burning a ton off. But back to seeing what, not only what my body transformed into, which I thought was pretty crazy, or what the limits I thought were to my body and where I thought I'd end up, was kind of shocking, because I always thought, like a lot of my family members, I come from Italian backdrop, and a lot of them are smaller or shorter and stockier. I was thin and just ripped and short. I didn't really, my father was 6 foot, bigger guy. He was kind of on the thinner side, but he could have got big. My mother was wide and very strong, but my grandparents on both sides of my family, Italian-wise, including great-grandparents, most of them weren't that tall. So I didn't expect to end up 5'10", and by no means, or 5'11". I don't think that's tall by any means, but it was a lot taller than I thought I would be, actually. And what was quite interesting is when I graduated, when I got married, a lot of my Italian friends I thought were my heights for some odd reason, and then I come to realize most of them were shorter than me. That included a lot of family members as well. But what I realized over the years, especially in the gym, is where people, I think a lot of times, limit themselves, or they don't think they're going to get the results that they're going to get because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that their body can do certain things. And if you look at I think we've all seen pictures before and after of guys that have lost weight or became massive, which not only includes bodybuilders, but just athletes in general a lot of times. And I get a lot of genetics come into play more than anything. But I've also seen a lot of people with not that great of genetics end up really looking great. And then I've seen people with incredible genetics end up looking like shit. And one of the things is, I think if your mind doesn't believe you're going to get the results that you're going after, you're never going to get it. So you might as well, if you think you're going to kind of bullshit yourself and go be like, oh, I'm going to look like this, or I want to look like this, but it'll never happen, maybe it won't. In my case, I will say is, I didn't think it necessarily would happen, or I'd get I got up to like 250 pounds. I didn't think I could do it necessarily, but I wanted to. I had a desire to get there. So there's a big difference And I just kept wanting to grow. I refused to not. I just kept thinking, I have to grow. I have to get bigger. And I wrestled even 4 years of high school. And then I even got, I could have went to college and maybe wrestled, or possibly because I had some minor scholarships or people, I could have went to certain schools and then maybe even, just proceeded in that. But a lot of times they wanted me to wrestle the same weight I was wrestling, like, let's say my senior year or close to that. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking minds if you think I want to be a full-grown man at 135, 38 pounds. I wanted to be 238 pounds. That was my, mindset. I just thought it was time to get big and strong. And that was the mindset I had. And I think a lot of people, if they had even something similar, and that didn't mean they had to have an obsession like I did with getting bigger and bigger and stronger, but just a little bit. Just believing in themselves a little bit that they can transform themselves into something amazing or something actually very close to what they wanted to be. And in my case, I think, too, I always looked at constantly pushing myself. When I started to work out, it like a lot of people, or I should say later, after I got out of high school, I'm at 138 pounds moving to Florida, going back and forth. I'm like, man, I need to be 180 or I need to be 160 at this point. I need to eat. I need to do this. And like I said, I had a huge growth spurt, 210, 220. But then I said, I want to be 260. Like in my mind, even when I was 138 pounds, like I said, or 35, I'm thinking I want to be at least as big as some of my, bodybuilders that I loved growing up watching, or athletes, which even included football players and other athletes as well. It could be baseball, whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to get bigger and stronger. And again, when I tell people this all the time, because I think people give up on themselves too easily, and I also don't think they don't realize how long it takes to sculpt your body or transform your body into something. I think, especially nowadays more than ever, you see photos, which I think a lot of them are phony. You'll see a guy that's extremely heavy, or a female that's heavy. Then they'll say before after 30 days, before after 60 days. Or they'll show somebody puny and then all of a sudden they're massive. If you're gaining 5 pounds of muscle, honestly, per year, that's great. 10 pounds is amazing. But you have to be realistic when transforming your body and studying your body. We all have, and I talk about this all the time, entirely different genetics. We all grow in different ways. Everything is different per person because none of us live the same life. We all sleep different times for different lengths. We eat different foods. We drink different things. You may take different things nutritionally as far as, products go. It could be, from GNC, or it could be just vitamins. Whatever the case may be, you live a different life than everybody else in the world. So you're going to get different results. Some may be fast, some may be slow. Maybe for 6 months it may be fast, then it may just slow down. Sometimes it could be fast for long periods of time. Some people just seems to take forever. That's just the way it is. But again, when you start sculpting your body, or you want to make these changes, I think, and I've talked about this a lot, is you have to have something in your mind that you truly want to look like or have an idea. I followed a lot of bodybuilders. That's what I just followed. But I did see different things sometimes that I would like. It could be a gymnast, hypothetically, who had these cool arms, or it could be somebody who I liked. I would break it down and say, okay, Lee Haney and Dorian, I like their back, and biceps. You may be like, there's so many guys with great biceps. I'm not a huge Arnold fan, but he had huge, he had beautiful arms, biceps, hypothetically. And then triceps, I would be looking at other bodybuilders. I'm not going to sit here and start listing them all. But my point is, I thought I would look like Franco Colombo because I was short. That's who I was aiming for. He was Italian. We were Italian, and he was very short, stocky, and strong, and that's kind of who I wanted to be like. But then as I got bigger, I had to realize I had to transform, because I'm not going to be that guy. And he was massive, don't get me wrong. I just wasn't going to be that short. So now my genetics changed. And then you have to look at somebody else who has kind of what you want. But again, you have to have some type of idea and envision this. And it may not even be a bodybuilder, and that's what I'm saying. It could be whoever. I don't care. It could be a friend that has a body you like. It could be somebody famous as far as an actor or a character goes, from television to movies. It could be a musician. I don't know what it is. It could be a professional athlete, an Olympic athlete, whatever the case may be. I think a lot of times you have to have that mindset to say, this is something that I want to go after. I think just to have sometimes a blank screen and have no idea and just go into it, which can work, because I've done that as well. I've done all these mental things where I'm like, okay, I'm training to work on this. Now I'm training to work on that. I almost look at myself as my own science project. And I would work on each body part. And I actually just did a YouTube video on this. And that's never... in my opinion, I wouldn't neglect any body part from head to toe, and I think a lot of people do when they're trying to get certain results. Now, if you're just a dude who wants a six-pack, doesn't care about the rest of his body, I get it. Or you may be somebody who has, you just want bigger arms and a bigger chest, doesn't care about getting his legs or calves any bigger. Again, that's not my thing. I wanted a full foundation. I wanted a body that, from top to bottom, again, would be strong. Reason being is because, again, the longevity aspect of it. I definitely didn't want to be top heavy and not work my legs. And I also didn't want to just work my legs and neglect my upper body, because my best results came from my legs. But I sometimes would damage my body, but I knew in my heart that this was a long process. I almost look at studying my body or something as getting kind of a degree in myself. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you look at things that you really have to learn about, they take so much time usually, for the most part. I look at it as almost being a doctor. I don't care if you're going to be a lawyer. Whatever the case may be, or even a professional athlete or an amateur. I played sports for so many years, and then you can see as you got older, slowly but surely you got stronger, faster, hopefully a little more coordinated. All these things started happening, especially getting the mindset down. But then there comes a point in your life where that kind of balances off. And then it starts to go down to a certain degree when you start most likely going into your 30s or maybe 40s. And all these things I had to take notice of, and I also took notice of how I felt at certain weights. A lot of times when I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I kind of liked the way I looked. I kind of liked the respect I got. But then on the other hand, I felt like a piece of shit. I got so heavy I could barely go upstairs. I kept sweating profusively. And it took a toll on me. And I said, wow, now that I have a couple kids, I can't, walk around at 245, 50 pounds with my frame. I'm very small jointed, and my heart started to hurt. And what's quite interesting is I felt better in my mid-40s than I probably did in my mid-20s all the way up to my mid-40s. I felt better in my mid-40s. Now that I recently hit 50, I'm a little out of juice, I realized. It's hard for me, I'm not going to lie, to keep up with my workouts. What keeps me going, though, is back to sculpting my body, is trying and experimenting and evolving. And I'm literally probably a third of my strength compared to what I used to be. And I tell people, listen, you're out of your mind. You're a lot stronger than that. And I'm like, no, I'm really not. It's just, and I've tried to keep up a lot of times with the strength, but my joints and tendons, I think over the years, I've taken a toll. So one of the things I would recommend if you're sculpting your body is you do not want to hurt yourself. Because, if you look at even professional bodybuilders again, or if you look at professional athletes or people that have gone very extreme in whatever they're doing, a lot of times, they have injuries and they fight through them. And that's kind of what I did. And I didn't realize when I was younger, one, I didn't think I'd live as long as I've lived, but I also didn't realize the price that I'd be paying much later in life when it comes to my body. Especially I hurt my shoulder. I tore my rotator's cuff, and then my lower back I would pull out once in a while, just going very heavy, sometimes doing things incorrectly. It just, even squatting deep, heavy weights, leg presses, sometimes with my biceps kind of getting nuts and going up to like an extreme amount of weight, because I would see some of the athletes that I wanted to emulate and try to do what they were doing, which was very scary. And, I wasn't taking any steroids or anything, and a lot of the guys that I was trying to emulate were, or doing certain things that were giving them a boost. But in my case, I was actually hurting myself to a certain degree. Now, I'm not saying it hurt them, but it hurt me what I was doing. So be very aware of sculpting your body. And I actually did a YouTube video on be aware of the people that you worship or just follow or that you look up to when it comes to fitness, because a lot of times you may be following people that are doing things legally and illegally or doing things to their body that you would never do. But again, a lot of athletes are getting paid a lot of money. They're very competitive. It's very regulated. So be very aware of that. And if you're sculpting your body too, you're going to hit those weeks and days, months, years where you feel like you're not improving. You may consider taking steroids. Now, I'm not against anything what anyone wants to do. I think there's strengths and weaknesses in anything, good and bad. I know a lot of times we hear stories about people who've taken steroids that have, lost their minds, murdered people, or have taken steroids and gotten killed. But then there's also tons of stories where people did steroids for many, many years, made a lot of money, and they seem to be pretty, okay. They may not be perfect, but who is? And that goes for some of probably, I'm talking mainstream, not only athletes, but actors as well. I'm not going to sit here and start naming them, but I think if you got some common sense, I think you know what I'm talking about. But back to you learning how to sculpt your body. Back to patience and learning. Hold on, let me get a glass of water here. I got a little dry there. Well, where did I put my water? Well, I can't even find it. Where did I put it? Nah, who cares? You have to realize the only person in your life that can sculpt your body is yourself. I don't care if you get a trainer. I don't care who you think you have. You have to do the work. Nobody else is going to do the push-ups for you. Accept that right now. I think a lot of people either get a trainer or they get a workout partner and they start doing things and they expect results, which sometimes you get, but sometimes you don't, and it all falls on you. I always talk about it's not how much you work out or for how long. It's the intensity that you bring to every workout. Also, it's the knowledge. You have to have knowledge when working out to do things correctly to get the results you desire. If you're doing shit constantly messy, you may get away with it for a while. But if you really want to get the results you want, you need to figure out as quickly as possible what's going to give you those results. Not only get those results, maintain it. A lot of people, when they work out, they look at like getting to a certain point. You know this too. It could go as far as dieting as well, right? You could be like, you see people lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. What do you see them 6 months, a year later? They gained it back or part of it. The trick of sculpting your body or doing something to your body, you have to, one, be realistic to sustain it. And a lot of people are not like that, even muscle-wise. I see a lot of guys gain a lot of muscle, work out for long, for a certain amount of time, even take steroids or do certain things to get their body a certain way. And guess what? They either can't afford to keep it that way, or they just get burnt out, or they're tired, or something else happens to them in their life. They could change their jobs. They can start a family, all these things. And again, the best bet is to do something that you can sustain. Now, I get if you're going to be a professional bodybuilder and be a monster, or even a professional athlete, let's leave that out, you're going to have to become something extraordinary. Hold that for a while, and we all know for the most part, even power lifters and all them, they're not going to be able to be that strong or that big for their entire life. We get that. So if you're lifting weights or if you're doing something physical, understand that there's nothing wrong, I think, with going after that, if that's what you want to go after. But for someone, I think, to really understand how to sculpt their body or get it to where they want to be, appreciate it, but really figure for the long term again. If you want to lose, a substantial amount of weight and you've never been that thin, kind of just take it slow. And I talk about this all the time, losing 1 pound a week or 1 pound a month. take it slow, but get to a weight that you can control. It's a lot better than somebody who's dropping 30 pounds, gaining 20 back, losing another 10, gaining 20 back, losing 20 pounds, gaining 5 back, and then a month later gaining 10 back. You have to get to the point where your body understands where it stands, not where it's constantly fluctuating. And one of the tricks to doing this that I talk about actually in a program I have is your clothes. So your clothes can dictate a lot in your life. You don't realize it. If you want to lose weight, stop buying bigger clothes. I know it sounds kind of simple. Start buying clothes that are tight on you and make sure you start fitting into those clothes. You may look like a douchebag at the beginning. I'm not saying something skin tight, but you want to keep going down a size to a certain degree if you're looking to lose weight. If you're looking to gain weight and get stronger and bigger, one of the tricks I did is I kept buying a size bigger because I needed to grow into that, and then I grew into that. So I literally went from like a small medium, then a medium large. I went all the way up to a 3X, 4X, which is crazy now that I think about it. And the same thing I had to go back when I wanted to go back down. It's not like I'm going to be wearing 3X and now I only weigh 200 pounds. It looks like I'm a kid in, adult clothes. So these are all things, little tricks that I did. And, regarding sculpting the body, just please take your time and do not injure yourself. And take photos of yourself, take videos of yourself, watch YouTube, Instagram, study people. There's so many different things you could do now. And I know there's so many things you could do from a physical, there's just so many things compared to what I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And even 90s. The gyms are way better. There's so many different type of classes you can take. There's just so much more information on different workouts, right? And there's different foods and different supplements. There's really not an excuse for somebody who wants to change their life for the better from a physical standpoint. And I think when I talk to a lot of people, maybe because it's the condition I'm in at my age, and I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn, but I guess I do look a lot different than most people my age. But I think they think that I'm obsessed with fitness, which I'm really not to a certain degree. I mean, I guess I am. I should take that back. But when I'm out of the gym, I'm out of the gym. I mainly eat only Italian food. I like to drink, Italian wines or beers, margaritas. Just like anybody else, I eat fast food off and on. I travel so much. I eat some good food. Sometimes I got to eat bad food. But I think the trick was that I was consistent in working out. And that's the one thing I think you need to be. But again, be very realistic with your approach, again, when sculpting your body or wanting to. Whatever you're doing, make sure, again, you could be consistent with it. I don't care if you work out once or twice a week. It's better than saying, I'm going to work out 4 or 5 times a week, and then you only go work out once every other week. Or you're quitting, or you work out like for a month straight hardcore, then you're off for a month, then you work out for a week, then you're off for 2 weeks. That's all bullshit. Be realistic on your approach and say, hey, I'm going to just work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Or I'm going to do this, just Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, I'm going to do this. And kind of be consistent with it. I don't even care if it's walking. Whatever it is, you're starting to train your brain, I think, and your body to say, hey, okay, we're starting to do something different here. We want to make a change here. And, if you're not consistent, it would be just like I talk about this, like a bank account or anything else. If it's going up and down, just like anything else in your life, if you're not even consistent in work, in a relationship or anything else, how does that usually pay out? Not too good. That doesn't mean you're not going to have off days where you miss working out or you're going to have to take time off, whatever the case may be. But again, looking at a workout and saying, hey, I'm going to work out, 3 times a week, and in 50 weeks, that's a lot of working out. Get 150 in there, right? To say sometimes you're going to work out 4 or 5 times a week, and then you look at the end of the year, I doubt that's something I do. But a lot of people are not going to stick with that. What's going to happen is you're going to exhaust yourself, get bored, most likely, or quit, or just not have the time to do that. My life, a lot of it does revolve around getting to a gym. But I'm the type of person who never got caught up with the time. I mean, as far as getting to the gym, I can work out in the morning, even though I don't necessarily like to. I can work out in the afternoon, later afternoon, dinner. I'll go work out at midnight. I could care less to get a workout in. It's just something that is programmed in me. It's almost religious. I sometimes don't even want to work out. I find myself going to the gym. If I get bored a little bit, I'm going to the gym. All these different types of things where it would be a similar, or something similar would be if somebody, say, watches Netflix every day, or if somebody goes to, hypothetically, Starbucks. I know, every day, or there may be something you do 4 or 5 times a week, and it could be in your own house, like I was just saying, watching TV, or you may be working on something, you may read, whatever the case may be. That's how I look at working out. I just go do it. I don't necessarily even think about it. I don't contemplate, and there's no out. Like a lot of times I think we need an excuse not to work out. You need an excuse why you're not working out, if that makes sense. Like for me, I'd be like, what is my excuse? Like what's going to stop me from getting to the gym? Not a lot, because I'll go work out before I'd eat dinner. So that's just my mindset. And that, again, has helped me sculpt my body into what it is. Now, I'm not telling you that's for you. But if you do sometimes want those type of changes, you may have to consider, again, just being consistent. Again, I'm not saying work out as much as me, or more than me, or less. You just have to figure what works best for you. And just study. If a lot of people just don't study themselves, and they don't see the results they're getting. And I talk a lot about this. Like, sometimes you don't even realize, like in a month, you may have lost only a pound. You may have not lost any weight, but if you consistently went to the gym, your heart, your organs, everything, you're working out. Again, you may not see the results. It may take, again, a month, a year, whatever the case may be. But also, don't judge everything from just an appearance level sometimes, because a lot of things may be going on internally that are amazing. You just don't see the results on the outside. I see that a lot with people who hike or even cycling, and it could be even surfing. It could be whatever. A lot of people do things at the beginning, and they expect their body to sculpt or become something different, or they're going to feel so amazing. It may not happen like that. It takes time. Everything that you do in life, I think, for the most part, that's going to end up incredible. It just takes time to evolve. And that's very similar to your body. Your body takes time to evolve. It's taken your lifetime to evolve into exactly what it is now. So for you to change that or evolve into something else, you have to be realistic and understand that's going to be a process and take time as well. And don't ever get caught up judging yourself along someone else or comparing yourself constantly. It's cool to be competitive, I think, in a gym, and then look at even if sometimes you take two guys, or 2 or 3, and I've seen this many times where they'll start working out and one guy has better genetics and starts excelling, right, compared to the other two. Say one excels really great, one's in the middle, and one's not really getting any results. Don't worry about that shit. Again, everybody's on a different level, and don't be like, oh, well, that guy's got, better, he looks like $1 million, I still look like shit. Well, you don't know how that's going to play out, because in 6 months, a year, that person may quit, may not. Your genetics may just take a little more time to kind of kick in. And the thinnest guys I've seen, even before, the ones that, are the ones that ended up usually being the biggest and strongest, because they fought for that. And a lot of guys with the best genetics, like I was saying a little bit earlier, I think I did, they kind of, I think, take for granted their genetics, where they kind of, I'm not going to say they peak early, but they balance out and they kind of get lazy a lot of times, where the ones that have to fight for it usually end up, I think, getting the results they want. So that's just my philosophy. So yeah, if you like any of what I'm saying in the podcast, you could check out my YouTube channel. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all my information's on richcelenza.com. But please take your time when working out, and realize you're an incredible specimen. And don't ever sell yourself short, especially you young people out there. You could do amazing things physically. You'd be shocked at what you could do. I don't care if you want to run a mile in 6 minutes or less, or whatever the case may be. Start slow, be consistent. If you need to, a lot of people like to, or keep results, and then, you want to maybe log a lot of these things in, and then keep pushing yourself and stay interested and evolve and change and pivot. Change your workouts up. Try different types of things regarding workout where you don't burn yourself out as well. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.